Marsau Scott finally said something that fans have been waiting to hear for a very long time, and the moment it happened, everything shifted. The conversation didn't feel like the usual back and forth that viewers had seen for years. This time, there was a difference in tone, a difference in energy, and most importantly, a difference in how things were being addressed. Instead of the usual jokes, deflection, or smooth explanations, there was something in his words that sounded closer to acknowledgement. Not a full confession, not a dramatic breakdown, but enough to make people stop, listen, and question everything they thought they knew. For years, the topic surrounding his behavior had been one of the biggest discussions among fans. Every time it came up, it followed the same pattern. Questions would be asked, rumors would resurface, and Marsau would respond in a calm, controlled way that often left things unresolved. He had mastered the art of avoiding direct answers without appearing defensive. But this time, it didn't feel like avoidance. It felt like something had slipped through, something that couldn't be covered up with humor or clever wording. LaTisha Scott, who has always stood firmly beside her husband, reacted in a way that caught many people off guard. In the past, she would quickly step in, defend her marriage, and shut down any negativity. But this time, she didn't rush to respond. She listened, she observed, and that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said in that moment. It showed a level of awareness that fans had not seen before. The shift in her reaction didn't come out of nowhere. It was the result of years of being in the spotlight, years of defending her relationship, and years of dealing with the same questions over and over again. Being in that position can take a toll on anyone. When you constantly have to explain your life to others, when every rumor becomes a public discussion, it creates pressure that doesn't just go away. It builds over time, and eventually something has to change. As the conversation continued, it became clear that this wasn't just about one moment. It was about everything that led up to it. Every past denial, every rumor that refused to go away, every time the topic was brushed off instead of fully addressed. All of that history was sitting in the background, making this moment feel heavier than it might have seemed on the surface. Fans immediately picked up on the change. Social media started buzzing with reactions, opinions, and debates. Some people believed this was the closest thing to honesty that had been seen in a long time. Others felt it was still not enough, that it was just another way of controlling the narrative without fully taking accountability. And then there were those who simply didn't know what to think, because the situation was not as clear as people wanted it to be. What made this moment so powerful was not just what was said, but how it was said. There was no dramatic confession, no emotional outburst, no clear statement that answered every question. Instead, there was subtlety. There was a shift in tone that made people read between the lines. And sometimes those small changes say more than direct words ever could. LaTisha's response after that moment became just as important as the moment itself. When she finally spoke, she didn't come from a place of anger or frustration. She came from a place of control. Her words were calm but firm. She made it clear that she was not going to allow anyone to disrespect her marriage or define her relationship based on outside opinions. That strength stood out to many viewers. At the same time, her reaction also showed growth. Over the years, people had different opinions about her. Some saw her as someone who avoided confrontation. Others felt she was too quick to defend without questioning. But in this moment, she showed something different. She showed that she was thinking, processing, and choosing how to respond instead of reacting automatically. That kind of growth doesn't happen overnight. It comes from experience. It comes from going through difficult situations and learning from them. And it was clear that LaTisha had reached a point where she was no longer willing to carry the same emotional weight in the same way. The conversation also brought attention back to the nature of reality television itself. Being in a public relationship is not easy. Every argument, every misunderstanding, every rumor becomes something that people analyze and discuss. It creates a situation where personal issues are no longer private. They become part of a larger narrative that is shaped not only by the people involved, but also by the audience watching. In that kind of environment, it becomes difficult to separate reality from perception. What people see on screen is only a part of the full story. Editing, timing, and context all play a role in how things are presented. But at the same time, the emotions are real, the relationships are real, and the impact is real. Marsau's approach over the years had been consistent: stay calm, stay composed, and don't give too much away. That strategy worked for a long time. It allowed him to avoid direct confrontation and maintain control over how he was perceived. But strategies like that don't always hold up forever. Eventually, people start looking deeper. They start asking more questions, and they start noticing when something feels different. This time, it felt different. The idea that he may have admitted something, even indirectly, changed the way many fans looked at the entire situation. It made them go back and think about past moments. It made them question previous answers. And it made them wonder if what they were seeing now was the beginning of something new, or just another version of the same pattern. At the center of all this was LaTisha, and her role in the situation could not be ignored. For years, she had been seen as the one holding things together, the one defending, supporting, and maintaining a strong front. But this moment suggested that she was no longer in the same place. She wasn't just reacting to the situation, she was responding with intention. That difference matters, because when someone shifts from reacting to responding, it shows growth, it shows awareness, and it shows that they are no longer willing to handle things the same way they did before. Fans also started to talk about what this meant for their relationship moving forward. Was this a turning point? Was this the moment where things would finally be addressed openly? Or was it just another chapter in an ongoing situation that never fully gets resolved? There were no clear answers, and maybe that's what made it so compelling, because not everything in life comes with clear answers. Not every situation has a clean resolution. Sometimes things stay complicated, sometimes people grow at different speeds, and sometimes understanding takes time. What this moment did was open the door to a new conversation, a conversation about honesty, about accountability, and about how relationships evolve under pressure. It reminded people that growth doesn't always look the way they expect it to. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's subtle, and sometimes it shows up in the way someone chooses not to react. LaTisha choosing to stand firm without losing control was a powerful statement. It showed that she was no longer willing to be defined by past narratives. It showed that she was taking ownership of her story, and it showed that she was ready to move forward in her own way. At the same time, Marsau's role in all of this remains a topic of debate. Whether his words were a real admission or just another calculated response is something that people will continue to discuss. But one thing is clear: the way people see him has been affected by this moment, because once a shift happens, it's hard to go back. The audience is now watching more closely, listening more carefully, and questioning more deeply, and that changes everything. This situation also highlights something bigger than just one couple. It shows how public perception can evolve over time. It shows how repeated questions can lead to moments of clarity. And it shows how people respond differently when they reach a certain point in their journey. For LaTisha, that point seems to have been reached. She is no longer just reacting to what is happening around her. She is choosing how she wants to handle it. And that choice is what makes this moment stand out. Because in the end, this isn't just about what Marsau said or didn't say. It's about what LaTisha showed: strength, control, and a clear decision not to let anyone else define her reality. And that's what people are really paying attention to now. As the conversation continues and more reactions come in, one thing remains certain: this moment has changed the way people look at their story. It has added a new layer to an already complex situation, and it has left everyone wondering what comes next. Because when the truth starts to slip out, even in small ways, it has a way of changing everything.